Okay guys, first of all, let's appreciate my PJs, and yes, I have matching bottoms, but tonight we're going to be starting my first book of 2025. I literally can't say 2025 without feeling weird, like that does not sound like a real year, but either way, I'm reading my first book of 2025, and let me just say, my choice of book is a little scary for me, scary yet exciting. I'm going to be reading Magnolia Park's Into the Dark. A little background with me in this book. First of all, if you don't know, this is the 5th book in the Magnolia Park series. It came out in February of 2024. If you don't know what Magnolia Parks is at all, first of all, you've probably been living under a rock, or you're just new to reading romance books. But basically, the way everybody describes this series is Gossip Girl in London. It follows these rich kids who are all friends, but there's lots of drama, lots of like toxicity, lots of toxicity within their friend group. And within the Magnolia Parks universe series, there's Magnolia Parks books, and then there's Daisy Hates books. Magnolia Parks follows Magnolia Parks, and it follows her romance, her family, her friendships. And then the Daisy Hates books follows a girl named Daisy Hates and her romance and her family and her friendships. But their lives like intertwine with each other, and it's like one whole universe. And it's great. I read the book before this, Daisy Hates and the Great Undoing, at the very end of 2023. It was literally my last read of 2023, and it was emotionally destroying in the best way possible. I gave it a 5-star. I loved it. And as I said, this came out in February, 2 months after I read the last book, and I did really want to read it. I wanted to see what happened next, but I was literally so intimidated by it, so I didn't read it. Like, I was just like, no, I need to be in an emotionally stable place in my life to read it. And I feel like that sounds so dramatic, but like, I'm a teenage girl, I have to be dramatic. So I never read it, even though everybody else was reading it. And like, honestly, like, this book is so intimidating. Look how thick this is. This is like almost 700 pages, and like the pages are so like big, you can't really tell on camera, but like this book is like so tall, long, like size-wise, it's so long. So like there's a lot of words on the pages. But anyways, I told myself that I was gonna read it during the summer. I never did that. You can go back to videos of me this past summer. Like, I literally would say that I'm going to read Magnolia Park's Into the Dark, and I didn't. And then probably in like November, I saw that this book was on sale, so I was like, okay, let me buy it. This is a sign from the universe. It wants me to read this book. But tell me why the shipping was like so expensive. Like, it made it the regular price. So like this little sale that they had going on wasn't even a sale. They like tricked me. But either way, I bought the book, and I told myself that I was going to read it during winter break because I needed to read it in the confines of my own room where I can cry without being judged, because if I read it in my dorm and I started to cry, I'm sure my roommates would be concerned. So here we are. I have like 2 more weeks of winter break, so I am going to finish this before break is over, and it's going to be great. I'm so scared. Like, I know it's going to be good. Like, I know like what people's thoughts are of this book. Like, everybody loves the book. I love the whole series, and honestly, when it comes to books, I'm not hard to please. So I know I'm probably going to give this a 5-star. But yeah, that's the backstory on that you did not ask for, but I had to tell you anyway. Anyways, I feel like I've been yapping for too long, so let's just get into this. I'm scared. Okay guys, I honestly don't remember what the last thing was that I filmed for this video. I'm like filming like a bunch of other videos at the same time, so my mind is very discombobulated. But we're back, and I'm gonna be so honest, I haven't really made a dent into Magnolia Parks. I've only read like 3 chapters, but like this book is so long. Like, I've read that much. I feel like that's low-key a lot. But like, this book is so long. I'm on page 52. So like, that's actually pretty good in my eyes, but this book is huge. If I keep going at this rate, it's gonna take me all month to read the book. So today I'm gonna try to like make a sizable dent into reading this. Right now, my goal is to just reach 100 pages, if I'm being honest. As for the book itself, these 50 pages have been some of the best 50 pages I've ever read in my life. So far, this book is so good, but it's just so sad. As I was reading, there were tears in my eyes, and I'm only 50 pages in. So that says a lot. If you don't know the series, something big happens in the book before this, and it's something very sad, and it just carries into this book, so you're feeling all of that. And the characters, I love the characters. And what's crazy is that I haven't picked up this series in a year, but I feel like the exact same emotions that I felt a year ago when I was reading the series. Like, I don't remember every single detail. Like, sometimes a character will pop up, or like they'll mention something that happened, and I have to kind of dig in my brain for it. But the feeling of the series itself and the emotions it brings to me, like, it's the same exact feeling and emotion reaction that I had a year ago when I was reading the other books in my series, and I just think that's crazy. Like, I feel like that says a lot about this book and Jessa Hastings' writing. I just love it. Anyways, now we get to reading this. It's definitely been like a few days, but I needed to update you guys. Today, I've spent most of my day just reading this book, and I've gotten to the halfway mark, and I don't know why I haven't been recording today. Like, honestly, today would have been a great day for me to record my reactions, but I literally wasn't even thinking about it. And literally like 5 minutes ago, I was reading and I had like the biggest reaction ever. Like, I kid you not, I literally just started freaking out and I was just like in shock. And then it just hit me. I was like, why am I not recording? Like, I need to be recording. So here we are, literally the middle of the night. I don't want to stop reading. Like, every chapter, like, low-key has me on edge. Like, I'm like, what is gonna happen now? And then the chapter will end and I'm like, now I have to read more. I wish I could go more into detail about what's happening, but I'm not gonna do that because this is part of a series and I would literally spoil everything. But let's just say I feel bad for BJ and Magnolia. And honestly, this whole book has just been such a roller coaster because there's so many sad moments, but then there's also been like a good amount of happy moments. Because if you don't know, it kind of like just follows a friend group and the found family within it is literally the best. But then there will be moments where you just get angry at certain characters. So you go from sad to happy to angry, back to sad, back to happy, back to angry, back to sad. And I'm having like heart palpitations because of what is happening right now. That is how I've been feeling for most of this book. But it's really good. But yeah, that's where I am right now. That was a good little break right there because the chapter I just ended, I was not okay. So us talking was a good little break from that. But now we're gonna get back into it. It's time for the final chapter. I'm not ready, but I'm gonna do it. Okay, it's the middle of the day. I'm still in my PJs. I haven't really done anything today, but I did finish this. So now I have to give you my final thoughts. I feel like my initial thoughts aren't actually available. Like, I'm just speechless in a good way. I can't really get too deep into my thoughts because like they'll all be spoilers and I just don't want to have any spoilers in here. But this whole book was just amazing. I don't know what to say. Like, it's crazy. Like, there won't be any new Magnolia Parks books, and honestly, like, I want more of their story. Like, I know the series isn't done and there's other books like from the other couple, but Magnolia and BJ, like, I want more of their story, which is crazy to think about because like this book ended so well. Like, we don't need any more, but like I want more. But let's start with my rating. I was debating on whether or not I should give it a 5-star, and honestly the only thing that was holding me back from like giving it a 5-star or giving it like a 4.9 was the fact that it was so long. Like, I'm not kidding when I say this might be the longest book that I've ever read without like going back and forth between an audiobook. Like, I read every single page, which is a miracle for me because if a book is too long, like, I need an audiobook to get through it. But this, I didn't want to listen to any of it. Like, I wanted to read all of it. But like in the end, who cares how long it is? Like, the feeling that it gave me, 5-star. I was enjoying every single moment, and I feel like some people might think that this book is like too long. But honestly, I think it was necessary. If it was any shorter, I would have wanted more. Honestly, I want more, and it's already 700 pages. But this whole book, this whole series, like, I love it. I love the world. I love the characters. I love the story. Even though the story is very stress-inducing, I still love it. And I feel like the details within this book and then all the other books in the series, like, it's crazy. Like, the writing is just so good, and you can see how much thought the author has put into this book. Like, it's just amazing. The emotions I felt through this book. If I recorded every second of me reading this book, you would see that I was crying every other chapter because this book was just so emotional. And this book is honestly like way more than a romance book because at this point, you know the characters, you know the nitty gritty, all the drama they've been through. So you're seeing them kind of recover from all the drama. And then there's also a lot of grief in the book. So if you're someone who likes likes more of an emotional romance, I recommend trying this series. I can understand why some people might not like it, especially from the beginning, but the more you read the books, the more you understand, and it's just perfection. But at the same time, it's not perfection because these characters are so flawed, but like, who isn't? I want to talk about like certain points, but like I can't because like I don't want to spoil anything, but let's just say I'm very glad with how it ended. But yeah, those are my initial thoughts, and now I just don't know what to do with my life. I think I might just like stare at a wall and think about these characters because that's what feels right. Okay guys, we're gonna take this portion of the video to do a little reading journal tour. I haven't recorded any of this, but over the past few days I've been working on my new 2025 reading journal spread. I thought about recording the actual process of me doing it, but I just did it whenever I had free time, and I'm not someone who can just sit there and do all of it at once. Like I had to do it over a few days because like there was so much, but I finally finished and now it's time to show you. I'm very proud of her. This is actually the journal that I've been using for the past like 2 years, I think. Like I know some people have a designated book journal for each year, but I don't read enough books to do that. Like that would just be a waste of a journal because like a lot of the pages wouldn't be filled up. But this is like what my new spread looks like. Well, first I did like a little 2024 wrap up. It doesn't really look that crazy. I just wrote down like basic stats that you could see on my Goodreads. But yeah, that's what that looks like. You can pause it and read it if you want, but I'm not gonna get too deep into that. But now time for the 2025 part. I automatically just go into the reading goals. You can pause to read them, but I'm like so proud of this page. And then on the next page is my reading goal tracker. I want to read 50 books, so I made like 50 squares, and every time I read a book I'm gonna color in the square. And then at the bottom, clearly I haven't filled this out yet, but say for January I want to color the boxes blue. I'll like highlight the January in the blue that I want to use, and then I'll start coloring the boxes for January with that blue. So I just do that for every month, and then by the end of the year I can see how many books I read, and I can also see how many books I read in each month. Next page, oh my gosh, I'm so proud of this. Okay, so 25 books to read in 2025. Pretty self-explanatory, the books that I want to try to read in 2025. I was actually having a really hard time coming up with this list, so I feel like some of these are just really random. That's what that looks like. I really don't want to read all of these books off, but I want to try to read all of these. Will I? Probably not. Like, I don't want to sound negative, but every time I make one of these, I usually don't read half of them. But this year, I really want to try to. But we'll see. And I like this because every time I read a book, I can just color it in and it'll look even cuter than it already does. Honestly, I think these are my favorite pages that I've done. Okay, next pages. Oh, okay, these are actually pretty good. Okay, so I have my alphabet reading challenge. Basically, I want to try to read a book that starts with every letter of the alphabet. I made one of these in 2023, I think, and I did not accomplish it. Honestly, it's like hard to do. Like, what starts with a Z? Like, I don't even know a book that starts with a Z, but it's fun to see how many letters of the alphabet you can complete. So we'll see how that goes. And then over here, I have like a little book bingo. It's basically like just a bunch of TBR prompts, and it's like in the shape of a bingo board. Obviously, bingo, you're supposed to like get a whole row, but I want to complete all of them. So we'll see if I can. I feel like I could. I feel like this would be like the easiest one to complete. Those are the prompts that I have. You can read them. It's honestly nothing crazy. I picked the simplest prompts that I could find, but yeah, every time I complete one, I plan on coloring in a box. Hopefully I can complete most of them. Okay, next pages, I have my 5-star reads. They're supposed to be like little shelves on the wall, but hopefully these are enough books. I feel like usually I don't have more than like 10 5-star reads. I don't think I've ever had more than 10 5-star reads, so I feel like this will be a good amount. And honestly, if I needed to add more, I really could squeeze some in there, but that's what that looks like. And I have like the little stars hanging off these little strings. I don't know what I was doing here, if I'm being honest, but it is what it is. And then over here is my series tracker. This page is just designated for the series that I want to read in 2025. There's definitely way more, but these were the ones that were like on the top of my head. And some of these series I've already started, but I want to finish them in 2025. But as you can see, I just have the series name, and then underneath I have little boxes that correlate to how many books are in the series. And then every time I finish a book, I will put a little check mark in the box like that. But there will definitely be more series added to this. I have a little more room at the bottom, but then I'll go over here and then like make a whole nother column. And then these pages I have. Oh my god! Wait, I just realized that I messed up so bad. Okay, this is supposed to be my genre tracker, but I put series tracker. Why am I just now realizing that? That's actually crazy. Okay, well, I'm gonna have to like fix that. I'll just put like a piece of paper over it and like rewrite it or something, and it's not gonna look as cute, but it's fine. But this is supposed to be my genre tracker where I track what genre I've read. But basically, we have little columns, and each column has a genre. So romance, contemporary, thriller, mystery, fantasy, young adult, and then then nonfiction. I feel like those are the only genres that like I really see myself reading. I don't really know how to explain this. As you can see, this paper is lined. So every time I read something from a genre, like I'll fill in the little box that goes with it. Like see, there's like a little box there. I'll fill it in, and then by the end of the year, we can see how many I've read. I can't believe I did that, and I can't believe I'm just now noticing. And I rewrote this in pencil like 10 different times before I outlined it in marker. Like, how does one do that? Anyways, over here, I have my author tracker, and basically how I'm gonna do that is every time I read an author, I'll write their name down, and then I'll put like a little dot by their name, and basically each dot will count for one book. Let me show you an example because I don't know if I just explained that very well, but I did this last year. I have the author Anna Huang. I read 3 books by her, so I put 3 dots by her name. I just feel like that's the easiest way to track authors. And then the final page I have is like my book reviews. So basically this is like the table of contents to my book reviews. This is what mine looked like for 2024, and I'm literally doing the exact same layout. But basically I'll write down the number of the book and then the title, and then over here I'll just put the rating. Very simple, but yeah, imagine that here. And then after that it'll just go straight into the book reviews, which I don't have any. I still need to do my Magnolia Parks one. I want to make like a little collage for that one because I want to start making like cute book journal spreads. Usually this is what I do for reviews. I'll just write the title, the author, a quick little summary of the book, and then I'll put the genre, the number of pages, the month I read it in, and then the rating. And then on this side I go into more detail about what I thought of the book. But I want to do like more creative pages. Like I'll put some examples on the screen, and I honestly don't know how I want to go about that, which is why I haven't done anything for Magnolia Parks yet. But as soon as I figure it out, I will let you know. But yeah, that's that. I really wanted to show you guys that because I have no one else to show. So that's that. Right now I have to clean my room, but the next clip is probably gonna be me starting a new book. So let's go to that. Okay, we're back in the spot. Crazy, I know, but it's time to start a new book. I'm actually so tired. Like it's almost midnight, but I told myself I wanted to start the book before the day was over. So I'm gonna try to read like a chapter or 2 before I go to sleep. But first, I obviously have to tell you guys what I'm reading. I don't really want to show you guys because I feel like talking about these books are like awkward, but I'm gonna show you guys anyway. Before I show you guys, let's not be too quick to judge. This channel is a place of no judgment. We read what we read. Like, I don't know why, like, I'm low-key nervous to talk about this. Like, I feel like it's just like taboo. Okay, let me just tell you what the book is. I'm reading Hunting Adeline by H.D. Carlton. This is part of the Cat and Mouse duet. So it's 2 books, and this is the second book. The first book was Haunting Adeline. If you don't know what these books are about, it's basically a dark romance about a girl who falls in love with her stalker. Again, it's a dark romance. Okay, first of all, like, I feel like I just never talk about like dark romances on my channel. Like, I read the first book a few months ago, and I didn't record that at all because honestly, I don't really know why I didn't record it. I feel like that would have been entertaining, but I didn't record it. I don't know, but I feel like I just never talk about dark romances. I think I've mentioned like a few times that like I'm a sucker for a good dark romance, but I don't know, like I just never record myself reading dark romances. I think like half of it is just like coincidence. Like I think the timing, like if I'm recording a reading vlog, like it just happens to be that I'm not reading a dark romance. And then like I think another part of it is just like subconsciously, like I don't want to record myself reading a dark romance. Not that there's anything wrong with reading a dark romance. Like I love a good dark romance, but I don't know, like I feel like again it's just like taboo, even though it's not. But like I don't know, maybe that's just me. I don't know, in my mind I think it's like equivalent to someone opening your Wattpad. Like I don't know if that makes any sense, but I do like a good dark romance. I know that's like not everybody's cup of tea, but I don't know, I feel like there's just something about it. Like don't get me wrong, they're so unrealistic, but I think that's why I like them. Like the craziest stuff will happen and it'll be like so like high stakes and like so much tension that would never happen in real life, but like I'm eating it up, you know? So yeah, that's my take on dark romances. Anyways, back to this. I'm reading Hunting Adeline, which is following the first book, Haunting Adeline, and the first book ends on a cliffhanger. So now I'm reading this to figure out what happens. If I'm being completely honest, I don't want to say I wasn't into the first book, but like it wasn't my favorite. I don't know. Going into the first book, I thought it was gonna be so good because of how much I've heard people talk about it, but the talk that I had heard about the book was just that like it is the darkest romance you will ever read, and I know a lot of people have read the books, so in my mind I kind of just like took all of that and expected it to be good. As someone who likes dark romances, I think it was all right. It wasn't my favorite. After I read it, I gave it a 3.5, but now that I'm like looking back on it, I'd give it like a 3, borderline 3 maybe. Honestly, the only reason why I'm saying it's a 3 is that it was interesting enough to keep me reading, and by the end of the book like I wanted to figure out what happened, so that's why I'm reading the second book. Also, the plot of the first book is not at all what I was expecting. Most of the plot was like very like mystery based, like these characters are trying to figure out a mystery, and I did not know that that was what was happening. Honestly, in my mind, before I had read the book, I thought the book was gonna be like girl gets stalked, girl gets kidnapped, and then girl develops some sort of like Stockholm syndrome, like some Wattpad story. That is not what it was like at all. And I just was not expecting that. And I'm honestly very confused as to how the girl fell for the guy. So yeah, that's kind of what I felt for the first book. Like, it was alright. And you're probably like, okay, if it was alright, then why are you reading the second book? The answer to that is I don't really know, if I'm being honest. I'm reading the trigger warnings right now. It says this book is significantly darker than the first. And it has significantly like bolded. Honestly, I don't know how to take that because the first book was very dark. But you know, I'm gonna keep reading. Okay guys, it's literally 1 in the morning. I'm so tired. I want to go to sleep, but I just finished reading Hunting Adeline, so now I have to give you my thoughts. I don't know. As I mentioned earlier, I love me a good dark romance, and I feel like I heard so much hype around this duology, and honestly, it just let me down. This book, I would probably rate it like a 2.75, maybe a 3. I don't know. I still need to think about it, but it just was not my cup of tea, which I feel like is saying a lot because, as I mentioned earlier, I love a good dark romance, and I feel like you can't really mess those up. But honestly, I just think this was like a little too dark for me, and it dealt with like a lot of heavy topics that honestly just made me sad. Definitely look up trigger warnings for this duology if you want to read it, but I don't know, this whole thing was weird because I read it pretty quick, but honestly I think I just wanted to get through it. And this book was divided into 2 parts, and in part 1 the characters were trying to accomplish this one goal, and then in part 2 they were trying to accomplish a whole nother goal. And I feel like in part 1 I was definitely like invested, like I wanted to see if they accomplished what they were trying to accomplish, and then by the time we got to part 2 they were kind of trying to achieve a whole nother goal that was related to the first goal, but like it was kind of just like a totally separate part. And with that, I just wasn't as intrigued, but like the whole thing was just like, I don't know. And then on top of that, the characters confused me so much. In the first book, they were confusing to me, and in this book, they did not get any clearer. I don't want to say too much and like spoil, but like these characters are dark, but I just don't think they have any logic to their darkness. Like I feel like in most dark romances, like there's logic behind the darkness, but in this book, like yes, there is a type of logic behind it, but it still doesn't really make any sense. That makes no sense, but if you know, you know. If I'm gonna be completely honest, this whole book was just like weird to me, which is like, I feel like is a horrible adjective to use, but like, I don't know, this whole story was just like odd. Like I was just like, okay, but why? And then on top of that, like it was super dark and like gory, and I just wasn't into that. Like I don't want to complain about the dark parts that I read because like this is very much marketed as a dark romance. The trigger warnings are there. Like I knew what I was getting myself into, but it was a lot. If you've never read a dark romance in your life, do not just go in and read this. But honestly, even if you have read dark romances, I don't think I would recommend this to you because the characters in like the romance just does not make any sense. And what sucks is that like the characters will say like some good lines, and I'm like, that is a really good line, but the characters itself just aren't the best. And the story itself, I don't want to say the story is not good. Like the plotline was interesting enough to keep me reading, but I do think it was kind of dragged on a little too much. I don't know, honestly this whole thing was just weird. That's all I have to say. By the end I was definitely pushing through, so I think I'm probably gonna give it like a 2.75. like I feel like usually I'm pretty nice with my rating, but I don't know, this book, I think I like the first one better, I guess. I don't know. Yeah, those are kind of my initial thoughts. Would I recommend this duology? No. Am I mad that I read it? Not really, because I like understanding why people feel a certain way about a popular book, and this is a very popular book. I will say I don't understand why it's so popular. I think people just talk about it a lot because of how dark it is, but the actual story and the characters itself aren't the best. It's just a very shockingly dark book. That's that. I'm gonna go to sleep now. I'm so tired. Tomorrow I have to get on a flight, so I might start a book tomorrow. I don't really know. So yeah, let's just go to the next book because this was so weird. Okay guys, I'm back at school. If you don't know, I go to school in New York, but I live in Tennessee. So a little change of scenery. I started reading Love Redesigned by Lauren Asher, which is the first book in the Lakefront Billionaire series. I love me a good Lauren Asher book. I feel like they're nice and entertaining and easy to get through. So going into this, I was excited. So far the vibes are great. I'm loving it. Nothing too crazy is happening. Right now it feels like a 4-star. The plot's good. I feel like I'm bad at explaining plots, but basically it's kind of like enemies to lovers. The main characters are Julian and Dahlia. I don't know. I'm gonna say Dahlia because I feel like that makes more sense. But Julian and Dahlia, they grew up together because their moms are best friends, but they've always had like a rivalry going on. I wouldn't say they're enemies, but like they kind of are. Nothing like too crazy, but growing up they always kind of had a rivalry going, and they ended up going to college together, but something happens in college that really makes them like enemies. So that's like their background. But basically Dahlia, she comes back to this small town that this book takes place in, and basically she ends up working with Julian on a project. Dahlia is like a interior designer, and then Julian works in real estate, so they end up working together on a project. There's deeper reasons why they're working together. I'm not going to get too into that, but they're working together even though they don't like each other. That's all I'm going to say on the plot. I don't want to like give too much away. I've only read like 10 chapters, but so far I'm having a good time. This might be my last book for the month. I don't really know. Depends on how fast I read. I will obviously keep you updated. I'm going to continue to read. Okay guys, it's honestly been a few days. I don't remember the last time we talked, but last night I finished reading Love Redesigned, so now it's time for my final thoughts. Honestly, I'm still not too sure on my final thoughts. I know the last time I talked to you guys, I said that I was very much enjoying myself, and I was. It was a good time, but I will say as I kept reading, it just kind of got boring. I don't know, it was good, but like nothing crazy was happening, and I'm someone who likes some sort of crazy plot twist, but nothing like that happened, and I was kind of just waiting for it to be done. Like it felt a little too long. Like it's 500 pages, and the story just kind of felt like it was being stretched out for no reason. But I will say it was a good vibe. Both of the main characters kind of work in like the real estate interior design job field, so they were working together on this project, and it was interesting reading about that because I don't think I've ever read anything about that. The characters, I didn't really have a problem with the characters. The guy was sweet, the girl, she was chill. Honestly, I don't really have the strongest feelings towards them, but they were good. I will say it's supposed to be kind of like an enemies to lovers, but it didn't really feel that enemies to lovers-y. I don't know, I feel like I was expecting more with the whole enemies to lovers thing. Like their hatred towards each other clearly was not actually hatred. It was honestly just miscommunication, and because of the miscommunication they just kind of distanced themselves from each other. So if you're looking for like a good enemies to lovers, I don't know if I'd recommend this, but if you're looking for like small town vibe, a longer read, I don't want to call this a slow burn because honestly they get together pretty quick, and a lot of the end is kind of just fluff, I guess, in my opinion. But if you're someone who likes a longer book, I would recommend this. And I love how Lauren Asher like ties all her series together. Like there were little hints of her Dreamland Billionaire series in here, and I love the Dreamland Billionaire series, so certain characters popped up in here and I was just like, I know you. I don't know, those are kind of my initial thoughts. I feel like every review that I hear of this book, they always rave about this book. They say like, oh my gosh, this book was so good, 5-star, 4.5. I definitely wouldn't give it a 5-star. I don't think I'd give it a 4.5, and honestly I feel like a 4 is low-key kind of too high. I'm leaning towards like 3.75. Like it was good, I enjoyed my time, I would recommend it. I do want to continue the series, but I don't think I would ever read it again. But yeah, low-key kind of a letdown for me because I love Lauren Asher. It was good, not my favorite, but yeah, that's that. I think I'm gonna end the video here. I had such a fun time filming this. Like I definitely want to make more reading vlogs, so if that's something you want to see, make sure to subscribe. If you've read any of these books, let me know what you thought of them. If you have any good book recs or books you want to see me read, let me know. If you want to see more of me, make sure to follow all of my other socials, which are linked down below, and check out my Goodreads if you want to see what I'm reading in real time. But yeah, that's it. I hope the rest of your day is amazing, and hopefully I'll see you soon. Bye!